Welcome to the Rockstar Principles Podcast, coming straight to you from Rock and Roll, USA, covering the latest and greatest in educational leadership trends, news, and awesomeness for principals all over the world. Now, here are your hosts, the boss, John Ross, and the Doctor of Proctors, Nick Indeglio.
All right, children, gather around. It's story time on the Rockstar Principles Podcast. Last week's episode 31, a story possibility came up, one that we said we could tell, one that goes back in history, all through the annals of time, one of John's greatest stories. And just like the Native Americans did before us, just like the cave dwellers in the prehistoric times, we carry on the tradition of our history as human beings on Earth, the oral tradition, through story. So get your milk carton, pop it open, put your straw in, because you've asked for it on Twitter, and now you're going to get the greatest story in the history of the world. Listen up, principals. You know you want to say it to people all the time. There's stuff going through your head that you say, I wish I could say this to parents. You want to punch them, you want to kick them, you want to tear their throats out. Well, guess what? You can't do that. But every once in a while, time comes, an event happens that opens doors. Now we're going to go back many years. Many years. And now I turn you over to the famous, nationally distinguished principal, John Ross.
Thanks, Dr. Nick. All right, boys and girls. I'm not going to be able to keep that up for a whole segment. You mentioned it, the greatest story ever told. It's real quick. The greatest story I ever heard. And when, I've been in education 20 plus years now, you pick up stories along the way. The greatest story I ever heard in terms of saying something that you wanted to say was one of my former principal colleagues. I got to think if I want to use his name or not. I don't think he would care. Jim Wygo used to be a principal with me in Upper Darby. He's now superintendent in a neighboring school district. I think one of his principals, actually, I don't know if Bob Saladino listens to our podcast or not. I know he follows us on Twitter. But Jim Wygo told me a story one time about how he was sitting with a parent and a teacher who were both being, did I ever tell you the story?
You did, yeah.
Okay. They were both being incredibly unreasonable and bickering and arguing, and only a principal knows. Teachers, I apologize, but only a principal knows this situation where you're there and you just can't decide who's right, and you're trying to mediate the situation, and it was going on. And he eventually just said, you know what? And he pointed to the parent, and he said, I wouldn't want you as my mother. And he pointed to the teacher, and he said, and I wouldn't want you as my teacher. This meeting's over. And got up and walked out. And I was like, oh my God. That is the greatest. So that's the greatest principal story I ever heard. But this is my greatest principal story. And it's one of those things that it was just the perfect time. The perfect timing for me. I'm not necessarily proud of what I did here. I guess I should preface it by saying that. But I don't regret it. So that's I'm not really proud of what I did, but I don't regret what I did either. But it was the holidays in 2009, and yours truly had just come off winning his National Distinguished Principal Award. And I only say that because I kind of felt like I had a little bit of cachet, kind of felt like I was not untouchable, but, my stock was high, let's put it that way. My stock was at an all-time high in my school district. And I had one of those parents that, we constant problems, everything, nothing ever went right with this parent. And they made things particularly challenging. This mother who had a daughter in 8th grade in our school. And it was coming up on the holidays, and it was actually the last day of school. So everybody knows what that last day of school before winter break is like. So everything, people just ready for break. And literally, the last period of the day, I had this particular student, took out her cell phone and started using it in class. Now, 2014, that might not be as shocking. But in 2009, that was, pretty brazen to just take. I mean, there was a dead set rule, no cell phones at all. And she had been warned before, if my memory serves me correctly. So the teacher confiscated it. And it was the last period. School ended, kids left, and the rule was your parent had to get it. If it was your second offense, your parent had to pick it up. So the day ended, and the teacher brought it down to me, and we put the phone. Our standard practice was to take the phones and put them in our vault. We would lock them up in the safe over winter break. So we took it, put the girl's name, put it in an envelope, put the girl's name in it, put it in the safe, locked up the safe. School day's over, kids are gone. The teachers, as people in any field of work do, were gathering for a little social event, pre-holiday social event at a nearby establishment. We were going out for drinks. All right, let's put it that way.
So before you go forward,
go ahead.
Now, it's also one of those situations where, to some degree, when that phone came down to the office, you had to have shook your head a little bit because you're like, great, out of all the freaking people, it's this parent, this kid.
Absolutely. And in all honesty, and this is no slight on the teacher, but I remember my reaction was really, you had, like, couldn't you just...
Yeah, the day
couldn't
before
you just
break.
tell her to put it away?
Yep.
Like, couldn't you, that was my reaction. But it turns out if that had not happened, this story would not have happened. So it turned out being a good thing. So I said, we're out of here. Like, the day's over. It's the day before winter break. Let's go. Everybody's getting together. So I lived a mile from school. My assistant principal at the time also lived on the same block as me, actually, which is funny because you and I live in the same development. He lived on the same block with me, and we were both going to be going to the gathering. So we said, we're going to go home and get changed first, and then I'm going to drive him because I'm not much, I just enjoy the social aspect of it. I was going to be the designated driver that night for when we went out. So we went home, and I'm home. I'm getting changed. I'm getting ready to head out. And I go out to my car, and I drive down to pick him up. And he comes out, and he goes, oh, my God. Gets in the car. He goes, oh, my God. I said, what? He said, one of our teachers just called me. Let's call her Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones is at school. She wants her daughter's cell phone. and I looked at him. I said, yeah, well, that's a shame. I said, the day's been over. At this point, school let out like 3:15. This had to be about 4 o'clock. It's not right after school, but a good 45 minutes have gone by.
The day before break.
Break. Yeah. So he calls the teacher back, and he's on the phone, and I hear his end of the conversation. And, the teacher's like, the teacher's in a bind because the teacher's like, well, she won't leave. She's in the school. She's standing outside the office. She refuses to leave. It's a problem. There's a problem. I'm like, all right, I don't want this teacher to have to deal with this. It wouldn't be fair for the teacher to have to deal with that. We'll swing by on the way, and we're driving by school, and I'm saying to my assistant principal, I'm not giving her the phone. I'm telling you right now, I'm not giving her the phone. And he's like, no, you're going to give her the phone. No, I'm not giving it to her. So it's 4 o'clock. I'm on my time now. So now you have the combination of me being a little bit cocky because of my award, right? So I was already a little bit, a little too big for my britches. And that combined with now I'm John Ross. I'm not Principal Mr. Ross. It's 4 o'clock. I've changed my clothes.
Yep.
I view it. I'm off the clock. So
and you've got a party to get to.
Right. And we have we have our teachers. So we pull up in front of the school, and I see a school district security car there. And I thought, oh my God, this is great, wonderful. This is wonderful.
So did the teacher call security?
Right. So somehow security became involved. We had a building security guy. He didn't have a car. So it may have been that he saw them on his way out. I don't remember exactly how the security guy got there, but there was a district security guy that was there. And so I walk up the steps with my assistant principal, and here's the teacher, security guy, this mom with her daughter. So I, being a jerk, admittedly, walk through the door. Hi, Mrs. Jones. Can I do something for you? I understand you're looking for me. I knew why she was there. But but I was purposely, I understand you're looking for me. Can I help you? She said, get me my daughter's phone. And I just kind of smiled at her and I said, I'm sorry. What? She said, I want my daughter's phone. Get it. I said, well, that's not going to happen. And she said, oh, yeah? Well, you stole her phone, and I'm going to call the police, and the police are going to be here, and I'm going to tell them that you stole her phone, and you're not giving it back. So you can tell the police anything you want. I said, I'm not getting the phone. I'm not getting it. I said, I'm on my time now, Mrs. Jones. You don't understand. I've already gone home. I've left school. I'm on my time now. So I'm not getting the phone. It's going to stay in there over winter break. Your daughter will get it back when we get back from winter break if you come in and get it. So we go, words to that effect. The exchange goes back and forth.
With the did the
security
teacher leave?
guy, teacher's still standing.
Okay.
Now the teacher wants to see, I think the
Right.
teacher at this point was like, look, I've been here this long. I got to see how this is
All
going
right,
to
I
turn
got to see
out.
the payoff, yeah.
Yeah. So the security guy, pulls me aside. He's like, look, do me a favor. It's like, can we try to, do something here? He's like, I'm not comfortable. My boss told me to get this lady out of here. I don't want to make a scene. I said, look, I said to him privately, I said, look, I'm going to give her an opportunity to speak to me respectfully. I said, if she will, I'll agree to get the phone. I said, is that okay with you? I said, I'm not going to allow, he's like, you're right. You're absolutely right. She's got to, so I said, do you want to tell her that? And he said, yeah, I'll tell her that. So he goes over to her and he has a conversation with her, and I can hear basically like, look, if you want to get anywhere, you're going to need to calm down. You're going to need to speak respectfully. You're going to need to get it together. So, and at this point, we're still in the lobby. We haven't even in the office. So I walk over and I say, okay, Mrs. Jones, just because the officer here has asked me to, as long as we can, be civil with one another, let's go into the office. I never said I'll get the phone. I just said, let's go into the office. Let's try to be civil. So we walk into the office and we're sitting there and, kind of, again, she's like, you got my phone. You took it. You didn't have it. And I'm trying to explain to her, well, you have to understand your daughter took her phone. Now I'm trying to explain why we have the phone.
Right.
According to the teacher, your daughter took it out in class. The girl's saying, no, that's not what happened. She's getting a total attitude, just complete and total attitude about the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Starts trashing the teacher. I'm like, look, don't say, I'm saying to the mom, look, you got to get her under control because if she doesn't, act respectfully, I'm walking out that door. And a couple of times I started to walk toward the door. Okay. So, let me land the plane here. Let me wrap this story up. So it gets to the point where, now the phone is in the vault, right? So I go over to the vault, and it's a combination vault. And I'm messing around with the combination. And I'm like, I have a hard time to try. This thing's always tricky. The combination of this lock is always tricky. I don't know. Again, I've never said I'm going to get the phone. I've never actually said those words. Just mess around, and she's barking at me, and I'm saying stuff back to her, and it's going on. So eventually it gets to the point, okay, Mrs. Jones, what do you want? What do I need to do, to make you happy here? She said, get me the phone. And I looked at her and I said, I'll get you your phone, but you have to say the magic word. And her face turned the brightest shade of red you could imagine. And she said, what? I said, I'll get you your phone, but you have to say the magic word. I'm not saying anything. Get my phone. I looked at the officer. I said, I tried. And I turned and I started walking out the door. Where are you going? Now she's screaming, where are you going? Get me that phone. You better get me that phone. I turned and I said, listen, I'm going to give you one more chance. For a God's honest truth, Mrs. Jones, I'm walking out that door. Say the magic word. And she just gritted her teeth and looked at me and said, please get me the phone. I said, Absolutely. Real chipper, walked over, popped open the vault, went in. Now here's the kicker. Here's the end of the story. I go in, I grab the phone, and I come walking out. And as I walk out with the phone in my hand, the girl is standing there with her hand out. She has her hand, palm facing out, looking at me. And I had the phone in my hand, holding it out, and she went to reach for it. And I pulled it back real quick, and I said, "Oh, no. This goes to Mom." And I looked at Mom, and I said, "Mom, if you give this to her before you walk out of my school, the next time I confiscate this phone, she's not getting it back until the end of the year. And if you think I'm kidding, try me." I handed it to Mom, and the two of them turned, walked out the door. The best part of the story, the next part of the story, the final part of the story, is my sister. So my assistant principal and I, get in the car, say goodbye to the security guard and my teacher. We get in the car, we're driving over to the party, and he's the whole, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you said that. What do you think she's gonna do? We're kind of decompressing like you do when you're an administrator or a parent, or a teacher.
Sure.
After you have a reaction. He walks into the party and immediately gets everybody's attention and proceeds to retell this story to everybody, including the teacher who confiscated the phone, who was at the party. And the final thing he said was, at your retirement dinner, whenever it is, 30 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm coming to your retirement dinner, and I'm going to retell this story at your retirement dinner as one of the all-time great stories. So,
and this is a legendary parent, too, so the teachers all knew of this parent.
He didn't say Mrs. Jones. He said the name of the, yeah. So I wouldn't recommend it. As I said, it was a confluence of things going in my direction. The fact, like I said, the award, I was on my own time, and it was just one of those things where, I wasn't going to cave in. I wasn't going to acquiesce to this lady completely. I wasn't, once I got there, I was going to give her the phone, once I got there. But I figured I was going to get something out of it, and forcing her, who she had just been this complete and utter, awful person, just a terrible human being.
Setting an example
to
for
our
her
staff. To get her, to force her to have to say please to me, it was cool. I was very happy.
So as the applause and the gratification rings out amongst all the principals listening, some of the aspiring principals might be thinking, "Oh, I can get away with this." Yeah. Now, as you know, another segment on our podcast tonight is the second part of the Joe Galli interview, who was your mentor and your superintendent. So, as the epilogue, you did have to answer for this, didn't you? Would agree? Well, not that you got in trouble, but Joe, you had to have a conversation with Joe.
He was no longer superintendent.
Oh, okay.
That was the year after he retired.
Okay.
But my superintendent, the new superintendent, did call me. And the funny part about that was he called me and said, this mom called me and told me that, and this can't be true, because I know you would never do something like this. And I before he even told the story, I said, I'm going to stop you right there, boss. I said, it's probably true. So he said, "You really?" And he told the story, and I said, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "Well, that's not good. That's not good at all." I said, "Yeah, but you got to understand." And then I began to tell him
the details,
the things that led up to that, and everything that happened. And I kept going back to, I was on my own time, and I was not. It's not that I was disrespectful to her, but I was going to make sure that I was treated with respect. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when we're on school time and somebody's disrespectful to us, for the sake of the team, we take one for the team and we allow it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't let somebody walk all over you, but you have teachers. I mean, you have parents who every once in a while will speak to you disrespectfully. Gone are the days of being the iron fist and kicking someone out of your office, or for just a little disrespectful term. So. I caught a little bit of heat over it, but as I said, I think the DAC was stacked in my favor a little bit. So that's my story. Hopefully, it was worth the build up, because there was quite a lot of build up to it. I don't know. Feel free to use that, but don't blame me if you get in trouble if you do.
Or Murphy won a Principal of the Year award recently.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's
Take a shot. Take a shot now.
We might see if Dina Wirt wants to try that at some point this year. But again, don't blame me for it if you do.
All right, folks. So this concludes story time.
Story time. Yeah, we'll have to have one from Dr. Nick next time, and we'll make this a regular segment. Story time with the Rockstar Principals. All right.
It's like I get fired over the. I don't have good stories like that, but just things I've done with kids that are appropriate.
Yeah.
That could still be considered.
Oh yeah.
Slightly
we've
left
all
of center. Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. We'll be back.
And now a word from our fake sponsors. But we'd really love if they were our real sponsors. Seriously, we would love it.
That snowball is a great way to tell a customer Staples has technology gifts.
Greetings. Handhelds make terrific gifts. So do digital cameras.
Nice price. Excuse me, could you tell me about the scanner fax copier?
No.
But I want to get it for my brother.
Get him a cell phone.
No, he really wants one of these.
He can't have her. I love her.
What?
No. Weeping.
It's okay. We found you someone else.
Oh.
For technology gifts they really want, it's Staples.
It's time once again for Maxwell's Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. There's 21. We are on number 5, which is the law of E.F. Hutton. When the real leader speaks, people listen. Within 5 minutes of observing a meeting, you can pinpoint the key influencer by paying attention to eye contact. Who do people watch after a question has been asked? Whose opinion do they wait to hear? The person they look to is the real leader. People don't listen to a leader because of the message being communicated. They listen out of respect for the speaker.
My broker says that with 2 children to put through college, I should start investing in stocks. What does your broker say?
Well, Frank, my broker's E.F. Hutton. And E.F. Hutton says,
when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Wow, that's pretty deep there. Number 5 in the Maxwell University of Leadership Countdown. I guess a lot of it has to do with people recognizing and identifying with what the person says. People realizing the track record of the leader, the individual that's speaking. I guess the cool part about that, I never really thought about, is that you can actually have multiple leaders in one setting when that's taking place. Kind of goes against the whole concept, the whole idea that there has to be one person that's leading any kind of discussion or professional development or anything. But if you really think about it, I can see it that in sessions or classes or anything at all that I've been in, there's usually a couple of people in there that everyone really nods their head up and down and really takes pause and listens carefully, or takes notes and writes down what the person's saying. So yeah, that's a pretty cool concept. Something I hadn't really given much thought. I'm remembering it now from reading it in Maxwell's 21 Rules. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff.
The law of E.F. Hutton, I actually came across in the year, I believe it was 1979.
Oh, goodness. 4?
No. It goes 4. 4 or 5. And as soon as I tell you what it is, you're going to realize it, remember it, and it's going to rock your world.
Yeah.
There is a scene in Superman 2 after General Zod and the other Kryptonians take over the White House.
Yes.
Where he forces the president to step forward, to kneel, and to kiss his hand.
Kneel before Zod.
And he says, after the president steps forth and kneels, Zod says, "You are not the president." And I thought to myself, wow, General Zod has all this power, and even he was so powerful himself, he recognized that the man who kneeled before him was not the man of power, was not the true leader. Hence, the law of E.F. Hutton could really be called the law of General Zod.
It's true, and because as I think about it, I wonder how many people even know what E.F. Hutton is anymore.
That's a good point.
That's that's kind of our generation, the Gen Xers and older would be the ones that would be more familiar. But if you don't know, there was a commercial, I guess back in the early '80s, for E.F. Hutton, the brokerage firm, and their tagline was, "When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen." And they would have commercials where everybody would be having a conversation, and then E.F. Hutton, oh, my broker's E.F. Hutton, and E.F. Hutton says, and everything would get quiet. So yeah, I mean that's a really, like I said, it's pretty interesting to think about, and something that I guess would seem obvious. So sometimes everyone gets quiet because because at least from my perspective, everyone might get quiet because they can't believe what this person's going to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people that everyone gets quiet because they're like, uh-oh, what's he going to say now? So don't necessarily, do not assume to go with, what was the actor's name? Oh, man. From The Paper Chase.
Oh, my God.
When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Didn't he do that? He did Smith Barney commercials. That's kind of funny. We're doing
the same
E.F. Hutton and Smith. No. He did Smith Barney. It'll come to me in a minute, but I'm trying to. I don't even remember what the point was that I was going to make. Actually, don't assume that just because everyone gets quiet when you're talking that necessarily means they're getting quiet because you're making a really good point. It could be that they're getting quiet because they're going, oh my God, here he goes again.
Well, and I think for leaders too, and we won't beat this one to death, but you see that in IEP meetings a lot. Like a lot of times we'll go in as the LEA, and I'm not going to completely lie. There's times where I'm only half paying attention because I just kind of have to be there.
Well, the good part about it is that means you're half paying attention.
That's true.
You're half not paying attention, and you're half are paying attention.
But it's almost it almost always happens where at some point all eyes turn to us because there's all of a sudden a decision to be made that they think only the building principal can make. All of a sudden it's not an IEP team anymore. It's
right. Everyone turns to you. Yeah, that happens, I guess, in a lot of meetings too. John Houseman, by the way, was the name of that actor. Yeah, I had to go on IMDb. I did cheat. It didn't come to me, but I wouldn't have been able to finish this segment in good conscience without John Houseman. Was an older actor that did this commercial.
I'll find the old E.F. Hutton commercial and I'll put the sound in too. When we edit this in.
The folks out?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
We'll open with it maybe or something.
So the law of E.F. Hutton, take heed, make sure that if everyone is getting quiet and turning to you and listening, it's because you're making good points and not because you're making a fool out of yourself. Because there's one of those in every class too. Just like there's one of the other ones.
Agreed.
All right, so that's it for this week's edition of Maxwell University of Leadership. We'll be right back with more of the Rockstar Principles podcast.
And now a word from our fake sponsors. But we'd really love if they were our real sponsors. Seriously, we would love it.
Come on, kids. If you want to grow up fast, take one of these. One puff and they'll soon be in my grasp.
Not so fast, nicotine. If you want to go up fast, take one of these. With my X-ray vision, I can see the harm cigarettes do inside people's bodies. That's why I never say yes to a cigarette.
We are watching Rocky IV right now. The final montage scene. Hearts on fire before the fight. John?
What?
It's awesome, isn't it?
I'm in awe of the awesomeness of the Rocky montage.
Oh, here come the steroids.
Oh, see, now they're going to ruin it.
That's the largest needle I've ever seen in my life.
Are those for Drago or Rocky? Steroids?
In the movie, it's for Drago. That's like an 8-inch needle.
Yeah, look at that thing.
It should go straight through his body. Okay, well, guess what? Sing it.
Yeah. I don't know the rest of the words. But anyway, what's this segment, Nick?
We're going to do part 2 of the Joe Galli interview from the King Street Grill.
Well, for what it's worth, this has been significantly edited down. A lot of names were used, and We didn't want to get sued by anybody, so here the sound drop out a couple times. There's nothing wrong with your playing device. It's we had to edit the names out. So
simple. God, remember her, Brigitte Nielsen?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Flava Flav.
He is now going to outrun the Russian KGB.
He's going to outrun a Mercedes, no less.
But here's
and he's in boots
and a weird winter jackety thing. And also, we should have foreshadowing Rocky winning here, because Drago couldn't make it up the treadmill, and Rocky climbs a mountain.
A mountain, ladies and gentlemen, a mountain. Much like the mountain Joe Galli had to climb through his years of leadership. Like my segue.
Yeah.
There it went to.
That's enough.
Goes back to the old Myron Rosenbaum. The best boss I ever had. Told you that story before. Very best boss I ever had in my entire life. Sat me down at his breakfast table. I was 25 years old, trying to become an NBA referee. I was refereeing in every NBA summer camp, every Harlem Rucker tip-off tournament, refereeing down at the Baker League, down at Temple in the summertime, with all the great players. I did it for 5 years, from 21 to 26. 5 years, refereeing the Eastern League. Every toilet bowl town in America I was in, refereeing the Eastern League games, and the old Continental League, CBA. And I was constantly evaluated, filmed and evaluated, sitting in a hotel room, a Holiday Inn, someplace up in New York, with the supervisor of officials, Myron Rosenbaum, sitting right next to me with the screen, the 8mm camera on the wall. He's going, look, see that? You called that a block. How the hell can you call that a block? That's an obvious charge. Look at where he is. Look at where he's going through the whole thing. After 5 years, he sat me down at his breakfast table one morning in Overbrook Park, and he said, I like you. I like you a lot. I like your wife. I like your little son, Joseph. You're not good enough. What do you want to do? You're not good enough. What do you want to do? He said, you can keep on doing what you're doing. You can continue to work the Eastern League, the CBA, the Harlem Rucker Tip-Off Tournament, the Baker League at Temple for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Maybe someday you'll be good enough to be chosen as an NBA referee, like your hero, your buddy, your best friend, Joey Crawford, who was my best friend and refereeing back in those days, and he's still refereeing. 66 years old, and he's still refereeing. He said, but maybe you'll never make it. So what do you want to do? He said, contact me in a couple of days and let me know what you want to do. So I called him on the phone. I said, I'm going back. Going back to doing college ball, going back to doing high school ball, going to pursue an administrative career in education. So I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. But how many bosses do you know today can look an employee in the eye and tell that person, I like you. You're a good person. You're not good enough to teach math at Lionville Middle School. Downtown Middle School. You're not good enough. Right away, they take it personal.
Yeah.
They think you hate them. They think you don't like them. I remember consumer science teacher. Oh my God, the tears in her eyes. And I used to tell people, maybe you could teach family and consumer science in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where the kids never misbehave, where there's no locks on the lockers, where there's no discipline in the school. Everybody respects the teachers, but you can't teach family and consumer science here at Drexel Hill Junior High School in Upper Darby Township, because the children are far too challenging for you to be able to deal with. In another setting, you may be a very effective teacher, but here you're not. You got to make a decision what you're going to do. She ultimately resigned, but she had a husband who...
I saw you do that with teacher. Yeah. Did the same thing with her? Yeah. I mean, that's what you got to do, and that's not easy. It's not easy to do. Although I think the words with her were, you can either resign or you're going to be fired. Take your pick. And sometimes people have to hear it one way, and sometimes people have to hear it another way. She was God. There are ways to put it. She wasn't a nice person. That's
Look
different.
at,
She
look at
wasn't.
how many years I put up with Karen. Kids used to lock her in the closet every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They used to lock her in the closet. They'd lock her in the closet. They would lock her in the closet.
Every day. She fell for it every day.
It happened to her, not every day, but it happened to her several times.
Charlie Brown kicking the football.
She would go in the closet and they would just walk over and push
Shut
the
the
door.
Because we had these big closets at Drexel Health. You would walk, you could literally step into your closet. You know what I mean? They were that deep. So she would go in to get something, I guess. And she wasn't there when I was there. I missed her.
No, you didn't
That's
miss
terrible.
anything.
Who was the teacher where they climbed out on the window ledge?
Kids did, not the teacher.
Yeah. Who was the
kids
teacher
did.
whose classroom the kid climbed out of the
Her
window?
name was Matt.
I tell you that story? He's teaching and
Her name was
suddenly
Matt. I was a teacher then.
Yeah, I know.
I was
There's
a
a
school
kid
teacher.
like out on the window ledge outside of his room tapping on the class. He's saying to his kids, "Where's that sound coming from?" When his kid's like, "Mr. Galli, there's somebody at the window." The kid on the ledge
Who climbed over from the other.
who would
Second story of the
shimmy
building.
down because he had gone out on. He had done it in the teacher's classroom next door, and the teacher shut the window and locked it.
And left them out there.
Yeah,
It's
he
fantastic.
got out there without her knowing, and then while he was out there, she I guess saw him or whatever, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to teach him a lesson." She shut the window and locked it.
It's
He
fantastic.
had to let the kid in through his window.
I was a teacher then.
Ah, thank you.
See, that's another thing. That's another thing. There are too many teachers that are not willing to admit that the teacher's teaching next door to them is ineffective.
Or
Because
speak up.
They will not speak up.
Yep.
They will never speak up. I had that happen to me at Hershey.
Or they speak up, and then when you start to do something, they're like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad for you."
Yeah, no, the unions,
It's so
tell
terrible.
them in no uncertain terms, this is not your job.
No, but I've had people say, "You got to do something about this person. They're awful. They're driving us nuts. They're, please come in, observe them more, see what's going on, check up on them, find out what their problem is." And I go to start doing that, and stuff starts to happen, and then they flip it back and say, "Oh, we feel so bad for her. It's so awful what she's going through." I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're the ones that were." All right.
Yeah. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to sit around and talk about it or blog about it or write about it, the most important thing is getting the right people when you hire them. Teach them what they need to know so that they can be effective, and evaluate them so that they can become even more effective. If you don't do that, you got no shot of the program being successful.
On the bus.
That's right. It's a simplified way of saying it, but
That's what
it's
Wygo used
absolutely
to say
true.
it all the time.
Yeah.
Wygo used to say it all
Right.
the time from Collins. Great.
Well, you know Wygo. Wygo was great for telling people you're out of here. You're done.
He could have stopped the fight. He could have saved his best friend's life. But now, the one thing he can't do is walk away.
He's had one professional fight, and one man is dead.
Baby, he's gonna have to kill me.
You can't win!
Rocky IV, rated PG. Now playing. Check newspapers for a theater near you.
And we're back with more of the Rockstar Principles podcast. This is going to be our little pop culture segment for this week's edition. If you're a regular listener to the podcast, you know that Dr. Nick is a huge Superman fan, and I, for one, am more of a Batman guy, so it's kind of a yin and yang of our relationship. And in the news this week, in terms of Superman and Batman, the forthcoming Christopher Nolan who's doing it, right? He's doing doing the Man of Steel meets Batman, Ben Affleck as Batman, and oh my God, I just drew a blank.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, the same guy playing Man of Steel. That was just playing Superman. That was just a Man of Steel. And they announced that the character of Lex Luthor and the character of Alfred have both been cast. Alfred, not so much. Jeremy Irons playing Alfred, not a whole lot of, I can't see how anybody could really find fault with that. But
except for my one comment.
Well, and which was
that now Alfred is 10 times cooler than Batman.
Yes, that is true. Jeremy Irons is an official badass, and as Alfred, he will more than likely slap Batman around like
Silly.
Batman slaps Robin around. But no, it's the character of Lex Luthor being cast with the actor Jesse Eisenberg. You might know Jesse Eisenberg from Zombieland, which was his first big role. And more recently, he was in The Social Network. Pretty good actor, younger guy. He's probably like his late 20s.
He was 1983, so...
Okay, so yeah, just turned 30.
Just turned 30, basically, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of a different. I mean, if you think about Lex Luthor and who has played Lex Luthor, of course, no one can top Gene Hackman's portrayal, in my opinion, of Lex Luthor. But yeah, it's kind of outside of the box, and there seems to be a little controversy within the Indeglio family as to whether or not this was a good call. We were hoping to get Nick's brother Mike on, but he's a little preoccupied tonight. But yeah, so Nick, what are your thoughts about Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor?
Well, let's go back to a comment you made first, giving Gene Hackman the nod as the best Lex Luthor. I do think that would have been unquestioned prior to the TV series Smallville.
But, see, I never watched that. Yeah, I did hear the guy that played him on that was good.
Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
And because they twisted that Lex dynamic in the show, and they were friends first, and they built to become enemies down the line. But he was, I thought, and again, he had 7 or 8 years in the role to build it and develop it, and really do a lot internally with Lex Luthor. You had John Shea from the 90s with Lois and Clark, which was an interesting take on the character. That was the first time
Kevin Spacey, right, who played him in the
Superman Returns.
Yeah.
But I think the John Shea one was the first time that Lex was depicted as a multimillionaire, like a rich businessman, not just like the mad scientist depiction of the character. And that was kind of after John Byrne's 1986 when they rebooted Superman initially. So I guess now we've seen the 2 iterations of the character, kind of the crazy scientist, mad scientist, really intelligent threat to Superman, and the super businessman, influential, powerful. And the hint we have in Man of Steel is we see the LexCorp trucks, we see
the Wayne Industries satellite.
So you know that LexCorp, we know it's a big company at least, but we don't know much about Lex, from Man of Steel. So the question is, so what does Jesse Eisenberg bring to the character? And without seeing a script or knowing anything, we know it's a 30-year-old guy who just played Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
So are they going to go with an Aspergery, autistic, like, savant type character? Like, and I think, and this is why I'm intrigued by it. I think it's a good casting choice if they're going to go that route, because let's look at what happened at the end of Man of Steel. A bunch of aliens, whether Superman's good or bad, if you're just Joe Schmo, right, living anywhere, even in Metropolis, you're saying a bunch of aliens almost destroyed our planet.
Right.
And pretty much decimated the largest city on the planet in Metropolis. Millions of people died. I mean, horrible things happened.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be sympathizing and empathizing with Lex Luthor a little bit in the beginning, because you're an idiot if you just trust Superman at this point. If you just think, this is all cool and kosher and copacetic. So if you're autistic, maybe you are perseverating on an alien who is all-powerful who could destroy the entire planet. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm kind of thinking the angle to go would be, with the planet being decimated as it was, Lex kind of underhandedly being a philanthropist of some sort, since he is loaded, trying to spin it that he's a good guy, and in reality, Superman finds that he's really doing bad stuff, and, tries to out him for that, and that's when people kind of, combined with the fact that he beat up General Zod and ripped apart Metropolis in doing so, that, people might, like you're saying, might not be in good light. I don't know. Yeah. I gotta be honest, I got more of a problem with the Ben Affleck as Batman than I do Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Yeah, we never really did kind of go there, I guess. Well, let's finish on the Lex thing, because I still think there's more to explore here, I still think, in that in 2014, right, if Lex has built this company, we don't know much about LexCorp at this point, in this universe, this Man of Steel universe. But let's say he's a legit, smart, intelligent businessman who built this big company. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he probably had to do some underhanded things to get there, but I have a hard time believing he's already just like out and out evil. So maybe he doesn't have to be that. Like
maybe something happened during the blowing up of the Earth during the battle that made him evil. You know what I mean? Maybe he lost somebody.
There you go.
He's going to blame Superman for him losing. And one of the common things you heard about Man of Steel, where people were like, "Oh my God, why did Superman have to fight Zod in Metropolis and basically, put all of those people's lives in danger and destroy all that property?" Maybe somehow they're going to connect it to that. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're to me. So if they go the route of him not starting out as just being a diabolical, if we have to actually come to understand his motivations, and they make him somewhat sympathetic to us, then I see it being a much more interesting dynamic. You know what I mean? Not that they have to be friends or you have to do anything weird that way, but just give us a character we can really sink our teeth into and is multi-layered.
I'd still be happier if they could somehow work Gene Hackman. Maybe Gene Hackman could play his dad or something like that.
Cameo.
Gene Hackman hasn't been in a movie in years, by the way. He's an outstanding actor.
It's been a while.
Yeah, he's really stepped out of movies.
So it's interesting you say Lex's dad, who in the comics has always been in bed, but in Smallville, the TV show was played by John Glover, who was probably a better character than Lex Luthor.
You're completely out-kicking my coverage now, outside of my zone of comfort.
Evil Lex times 10 was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But Daddy syndrome? Yeah,
big time. Big time.
They usually do. It seems to be a common thing.
A common bad guy
thing. I mean, Batman's got a daddy thing. Superman's got a daddy thing. You know what I mean? There seems to be like daddy issues with a lot of those guys.
That's the way that these things play out normally.
Yeah, it's true.
Here's the other twist on it, I think. Mm-hmm. I have faith in... Okay, one of the things I really liked about Man of Steel, I thought...
Stop for a second. Not to cut you off, but I'm just realizing both of us lost our fathers at a relatively young age. Maybe something to be said for that. You know what I mean?
Does that make us superheroes?
I'm just saying. I just realized.
Yeah.
There's a possibility. Maybe we are destined to become superheroes somehow.
The confluence of the Rockstar Principles universe centered around...
All right, that might be a stretch.
That could be. We'll come back to that theme at some point. Any behavioral psychologists out there who want to analyze this?
Yeah. So maybe that's why we're so out of control. We're missing the influence of a father
figure in our lives. Oh my God. Okay, but anyway, back to the movie.
Yes.
One of the things I think they got right, and we're kind of wrong. We're saying Chris Nolan. He was like the executive producer.
Right.
It's really Zack Snyder.
Okay, right. Yes.
Kind of running the ship on it. But I thought they got General Zod right.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I never hated him because I understood what he was.
Yep.
And why he was doing what he was doing. You don't have to like it, but I got it.
Yeah.
Where I was afraid, and here's why I'm still somewhat afraid. In the Batman trilogy, that was primarily Chris Nolan, the one thing I didn't buy throughout the first movie, and kind of it obviously was, I never thought about it again after Dark Knight Returns because of how amazing that film was. But I'm blanking. Not Ewan McGregor, who played Ra's al Ghul.
That's Liam Neeson.
I'm sorry, Liam Neeson. Yeah, I'm thinking now in Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
Totally different universe.
Completely different fandom.
I felt like when he winds up in Gotham, I didn't buy it because I'm like, why is this really smart, shadowy, warrior guy who's got this whole, league and he's masked his identity, the whole bit. Why is it so important to destroy Gotham? Like, are we really this philosophical and this, everything he kind of described that they did through history, the Black Plague and everything, all that, and we're going to destroy Gotham? Like, it's that important? I for some reason, I never quite, and I'm like, if you give me a Lex that is just, evil to be evil, it's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see it.
Wait a minute. Speaking of which, go back to our other segment. Batman Begins. Ra's al Ghul. Remember the whole leader thing, or E.F. Law, E.F. Hutton?
Yeah.
We were led to believe that the other character was Ra's al Ghul, when the whole time we should have been looking to see if the ninjas were looking at Liam Neeson. Anyway, any final comments on the Ben Affleck piece?
I can't stand him, and I'm really not happy at the thought of him playing Batman. Although I will give him credit, The Town was an underrated movie. I did like Ben Affleck in The Town, but I think that's pretty much the only movie he's ever made.
What you want to gossip rumor I heard about Man of Steel Batman suit that might make you feel a little better? Rumor on the street, don't know if it's true, is that there's two suits. One suit is gritty, old school, gray, not the leotard like in the 60s TV show, but like...
Oh, God, that's what you were going to say.
No, the comic book gray Batman suit.
That's cool.
And then the other one's the more high-tech.
Right.
So I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but
Interesting.
that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Interesting. All right, well, that's it for our pop culture segment this week. So this is going to be our last... I know, we got one more. We got one more segment. So we'll either be right back or this is it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Who knows?
Whatever.
It plays out somehow.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Stick around.
Thanks for helping RSP top the charts in the Edu podcast world. Keep it real with Twisted Steel and School Appeal.